the audience just wouldn't let us go. They just wanted more and more and more, and in the end we just exhausted everything that any of us knew individually, collectively, or what. But I think we even did, I saw her standing there at the end in the encores. The encores just went on forever.
Picture this, a quiet night in his old London home. The amps are silent now, the guitars resting like tired veterans. Jimmy Page sits alone, thinking back on the chaos, success, temptation, and madness that once surrounded Led Zeppelin. The wild tours, the forbidden nights, the rumors, the heartbreaks, all of it feels distant now. And in this moment of honesty, Jimmy finally admits something almost unthinkable. There were 5 bands that were better than Led Zeppelin. Not because Zeppelin failed, but because these bands changed the world in ways that even Zeppelin never could. He closes his eyes, and the first giant that appears in his memory is the Beatles. There was no escaping them. The Beatles didn't just dominate music, they reshaped human culture. Page remembers standing in studios in the early 60s as their revolution exploded. These 4 young men from Liverpool destroyed the old rules and built a new universe where rock could be art, intimacy, poetry, theater, rebellion, all in the same breath. The world was hypnotized, screaming fans, riots at airports, hysteria that felt like religion more than fandom. Their evolution from Please Please Me innocence to the psychedelic temple of Revolver and Sgt. Pepper changed the palette every musician painted with. Their perfection forced Page to chase bigger sound, darker vision, more danger. And when he realized just how massive their shadow was, he understood Zeppelin had to become myth, not just a band, to stand beside them. And from that realization came the next band that shaped his aggression and competitive fire. The Rolling Stones. The Stones were poison. The Stones were seduction. The Stones were the night London warned you about, but young musicians like Page still ran toward it. They didn't just rebel, they weaponized rebellion. They weren't trying to be accepted. They wanted to break the world and rebuild it in their image. Page admired that fearlessness. While other bands wanted to be adored, the Stones wanted to be feared. They took blues and dirtied it with lust, ego, hunger, and pure electricity. Mick Jagger moved on stage like a man who never doubted a single decision in his life. Keith Richards drifted through existence like fate itself couldn't touch him, even when he overdosed and survived with a mocking smirk, as if death itself refused to deal with his chaos.
And it got to the point where I realized that I needed to learn to read music, and so that's what I did. So I understand that part, but I wasn't actually schooled, if you like. You know, I had to sort of teach myself.
Picture this, Altamont, 1969, a night soaked in dread, free concert, Hell's Angels as security, a growing darkness moving through the crowd like a pulse about to burst. And then the moment that changed rock history, blood spilled in front of the stage. Page watched the news break. The dream of the 60s ended that night. Peace broke apart. The world realized rock wasn't just music. It was dangerous. It could unleash violence. It could pull demons out of the audience and force them into the open. Led Zeppelin absorbed that energy and turned it into a new force. They learned that danger sold out stadiums faster than purity ever could. Page understood that the Stones had built a door to hell, and Zeppelin later walked through it with fire in their hands. But where the Stones were the kings of street sin and vice. The next band on Page's secret list would leave the street behind entirely, leaving Earth itself, and bring the cosmos. Pink Floyd. Pink Floyd didn't rage outward. They imploded inward. Their music did not strike like a knife. It seeped into the blood like a slow poison. Page admired how Floyd could make a man feel lost inside his own head without saying a single direct sentence. They created worlds not with riffs, but with atmosphere. Their studio became a psychological maze. Their sound wasn't just music. It was something between hallucination and hypnosis. Picture this. Page in the late 60s, sitting alone in a dim studio corner, hearing Interstellar Overdrive for the very first time. The room didn't feel like a room anymore. Time stretched, reality melted, the walls seemed to shift like liquid. Syd Barrett's fragile genius hovered over everything. His mind was breaking in real time, and yet it produced art so haunting it felt almost forbidden to witness. Page saw what drugs, pressure, and genius combined could do to a human soul, and it terrified him. It reminded him of a future darkness Led Zeppelin themselves would soon face: addiction, burnout, paranoia, fame that eats you alive. Pink Floyd taught Page that sound could be a dimension. That music wasn't just notes. It was architecture inside the brain. They painted emotions with delay, silence, echo. They built landscapes made of fear and loneliness. If the Beatles created the kingdom and rewrote the rules above ground, Floyd built the subconscious cathedral beneath it, where pain, confusion, and existential dread lived. Page studied their atmospheres like spells, like secret formulas. He wanted Zeppelin to have power not just loud, but deep, intoxicating, eternal. And when those dark, floating, dreamlike Floyd visions dissolved, Page's mind suddenly snapped back into pure, violent, physical rock energy. The Who. The Who didn't play concerts, they detonated them. Page remembered nights where the stage lights shook like warning signals before the blasts began. Pete Townshend smashing guitars like ancient ritual sacrifice, wood splintering in violent slow motion, like he was destroying every rule Old England ever tried to impose on young musicians. Keith Moon on drums, chaotic, uncontrollable, burning with the same manic fire you'd see in a man running inside a collapsing building with no sense of fear. Roger Daltrey swinging his mic like a weapon, roaring from his throat as if it was the final breath he'd ever lived to take. Their shows were war zones disguised as rock. They weren't entertainment. They were catharsis. Page admired how The Who turned rage into ceremony, how they took emotions most bands hid and weaponized them. They didn't care about beauty, they cared about impact. They pushed volume to where the human body almost couldn't endure it. They showed the world that music didn't just have to be heard, it had to be physically felt. And this was long before Zeppelin stepped onto their first arena stage. For Page, The Who represented the rawest violence and theater in rock history. They were the demolition crew before Zeppelin constructed their own empire of sonic magic. Their madness forced Page to think bigger, to fuse chaos with mysticism, power with ritual. And as those memories dissolved in his mind, Page drifted into the final and most personal memory of all. The last band on his list wasn't a band of destruction, it was a band of cosmic transformation, the one that came before Zeppelin and shifted the direction of his life forever, the Jimi Hendrix Experience. And then, Hendrix. When Page first saw Jimi, it felt like the earth cracked open beneath his feet. Hendrix wasn't mortal. He didn't even feel like he belonged to this planet. His playing was cosmic ritual, a spell from another dimension. Page remembered the first night in London when Hendrix walked into the room like a silent explosion. No fear, no hesitation, as if every molecule around him bent to his command. When Hendrix started to play, Page felt his blood turn cold. This was more than rock. This was raw creation and destruction happening at the same time. Page had always believed guitar had limits. Hendrix erased that belief in seconds. He used distortion-like emotions, bending pain, desire, madness, into sonic flames. He didn't copy blues. He ripped it from its roots and rebuilt it like a spirit guide trying to break through the material world. Page watched Hendrix create sound that was impossible. Screams, warps, ghosts, waterfalls, thunder, all coming from one instrument and 10 fingers. Every guitarist in London felt threatened. Every guitarist in America felt unprepared. Hendrix didn't just enter rock, he rewrote its rules. Wherever he walked, the atmosphere shifted. People followed him like a comet. Some feared him, some worshipped him. Page secretly felt both, but gods burn out faster than mortals ever could. Hendrix lived fast, faster than nature allowed. Drugs, exhaustion, paranoia. Fame swallowing him from every direction. By the time Led Zeppelin began to take the world, Hendrix was already fading, shadows circling his genius. When he died in 1970, at only 27, Page felt the universe lose one of its brightest flames. Hendrix never lived to see Zeppelin destroy stadiums. But he didn't have to, because Hendrix showed Page and the entire world what a guitar god truly was before Zeppelin even reached full power. Zeppelin conquered continents. Hendrix conquered dimensions. As Page sits there in silence, his confession isn't surrender, it is legacy speaking truth. Led Zeppelin was unstoppable, but they were built from the fire already burning before them. The Beatles created the world. The Stones corrupted it. Pink Floyd questioned it. The Who tore it apart. Hendrix transcended it. Page finally understands that every era of rock was a chapter, and Zeppelin was just one of them. These bands shaped him, they pushed him, they scared him, they humbled him. Without them, there would be no Zeppelin mythology, no stadium revolution, no riffs that echoed like thunder over entire generations. They were the blueprint before he built his temple. Picture him now, closing his eyes as memories flicker like silent film. The smell of old vinyl, the taste of dusty backstage whiskey, the electricity of crowds roaring like oceans. He realizes no victory truly belongs to one band alone. Rock was a chain reaction, each band lighting the next fuse, each generation carrying the flame deeper into the night. And Zeppelin's echo is still alive because those giants existed before them. Jimmy Page finally understands that greatness is not about dominating the battlefield, it is about honoring the forces that forged it. Greatness is knowing you were part of something bigger than yourself, something wild and uncontainable. And as long as the world keeps listening, their echoes and Zeppelins will never stop vibrating through time, carried from turntables to digital waves to whatever the future becomes.